go. Ooh, my afro. Okay. Trying to give people a couple of minutes to log on. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for logging on. I'm waiting for a couple more people to log on Instagram and on Facebook. So I'm kind of doing double duty right now, trying to keep track of both. But thank you so much for logging on. Um, Today is going to be brief. It's going to be about maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And we're going to talk about the importance of helping children to keep their native language. As you all know, well, maybe you might not know, but I am the author of a book. I am not being lazy. I just don't understand. And the book is basically about a child trying to, new to a country, trying to learn English. And this is the book. There you go. There you go. By me, Gina Paul. I'm the author. It was released last year, February, and basically, it's about a young girl coming to the country for the first time, and now she's trying kind of to muddle her way and trying to learn the language, learn in the school, and make friends and be able to socialize at the same time. And it has a set of challenges, and I really want parents and guardians to have a really great understanding of the importance of that, of hearing that child's voice and what the child goes through and so forth and so on. Now, this is not what this particular live is about, but this one is about helping children to retain their native language. Because I know a lot of parents, when their children are starting in a new school where they're learning a new language, a lot of the time the first thought is, okay, they need them to focus on solely learning that new language and not really nurturing and helping with keeping their native language. And that is not the best idea, because you really want the child to keep their native language, because that's literally part of their cult. That's part of their identity. That's part of who they are. That language is part of their culture. That language is part of their family, part of their heritage. You want them to be able to keep that language. You want them to be able to learn it, to learn to hear it, to speak it, to write it, to read it, because that is such a huge plus in this world. Not only in terms of it is part of who you are, but it's also traveling. Whether it is English, Mandarin, Haitian Creole, French, many places that you go to speak those languages. So therefore, it's a huge plus when you're able to speak that language and understand the culture and so forth and so on, based on the fact that you speak the language. So that definitely is a huge plus. So that's definitely ways of maintaining that. That's one of the reasons to maintain the language. And another reason to maintain the language is also, I'm sorry, I have my little notes here. Um, um, Socially, because you do have people within your own culture. Most people, live within the area of people who speaks the same language. It's just people seem to we all do it. We seem to gravitate towards people that have very common interests, and you want your children to be able to interact with family members. Because I know a lot of the time people come to the U.S., or if you're watching this from a different country, that other people come to your country, whatever the case may be, and that you have family from back home, and you want your children to be able to communicate with their family. You want them to be able to communicate with grandma or with grandpa. You want or communicate with aunties and uncles and cousins. And a lot of the times those people don't speak the new language, so that makes it very difficult to really keep the bond, to really keep the family going, if they're not they're not able to speak the language or understand it. Because like I said, I've seen it many times where a lot of parents are like, oh, I just want a child to focus on learning this new language. And it's like, no, they will learn the language. Trust me. I am a classroom teacher as well. I teach kindergarten through second grade, special needs. So I trust me, I already know that they will learn the language regardless. The most important thing is really keep rooted into their own native language as well, because they're out there. They're hearing it on TV when they watch TV. They're hearing it from friends. They're hearing it on the streets. They were hearing it, in school. They will learn the language. So don't worry about that. That will happen. Focus on really helping them to maintain that culture. Because I remember, thank goodness that I kept my native language of Haitian Creole, because I had my grandparents who were still back in Haiti at the time. I still have tons of family members who are still back in Haiti that, without me knowing how to write, in Haitian Creole, how to speak it, how to read it, that would have been a problem for me because my parents are no longer alive. So that literally would have been a problem for me to communicate with my extended family, and without having to retain my native language. So that's definitely one main reason, is to really, like, you, because it's part of your culture, it's part of your family, to really communicate with your family and keep that going and pass on to the next generation, because again, that is who you are, that is your identity, that's part of your culture. So make sure that you continue teaching those children to read the language, speak the language, interact with people who speaks the language, so that they could maintain that language. Because like I said, I know tons of people who were born in Haiti, who come to the US and now does not speak Haitian Creole. They barely understand it, much less speak it, read it, and write it. So, oh, thank you, Carlin. So it is really difficult, when they have other family members around the world and they can't communicate with them. Or they're like, oh, I want to visit my roots. And they go to their parents' native country, or their own native countries if they were born there, and they can't communicate with the family. They need someone to translate for them. It's like no, it's like you have to be able to sit down and have a conversation with your grandparents, your aunties, your cousins, your friends and your family. Excuse me. So it's really, really, really important to really maintain that, to nurture and maintain that language in these children by communicating that at home. Because trust me, if they're going to school, they will learn the English language. That's not going to be a problem. So don't worry. If that's your worry, don't worry about it. They are going to learn it. Um, Another great reason is educationally, because I read this article. It was talking about students who learn English and continue to develop their native language have a higher academic achievement later in years than do students who learn English at the expense of their own language. And that's one thing that I really, really wouldn't want any of my own students to actually lose their native language. I told parents, please continue speaking your native language at home with them, because I want them to be able later on, don't learn one language in the expense of another. It's like, no, because then you're losing the benefit. Hi, Jonathan. You're losing the benefit of being bilingual. And trust me, sometimes it just be cool just to be bilingual. Some people don't realize, but it's cool to be bilingual, to speak more than one language. You could have the conversation with that friend. Nobody don't know what you're talking about. So trust me, it's great to be able to speak more than one language, and that's another fun reason, to speak, more than one language and to retain that. And also for, economics reasons. In terms of later in life, you could get jobs based on the fact that you speak more than one language. So therefore it is personal, economics, social. Those are all great and important reasons to be able to retain one's own language. And teaching, if you are the one who come from a different country and you give birth to children in America, it is your job to teach them your native language, because you want them to be able to know that part of your culture, to know that part of your heritage, your family, and having not, like, I don't know, sometimes people are like, oh, I just don't have the time. You home with your family. You home with them all the time. Then speak to them, teach them. But you can't do that if you just, okay, I want them to learn this language. They will learn it. Don't worry about it. I'm trying to read some of the comments. That's right. Carlin said, because I'm actually reading from Facebook. Carlin said it's necessary to have other languages under your belt. It's a boost for better jobs. Very true. You could be a translator. At the UN. You could be. You could be a teacher. You could be a government. Interpreter. You could work in government. You could work. Let me tell you something. I've known some people who have gotten jobs solely on the fact that their boost on top of the next person is because they know how to speak another language, whether it is Russian, Arabic, Haitian Creole, French, Mandarin, it does not matter. The fact that you know a different language already puts you ahead of the next person. So you want to give your child at least one little step up by continuing to teach them. Teach them to read it. Right now, they have books in different languages. I have actually my book is coming out in Haitian Creole soon. So then that's another, if you're Haitians, that's another book you can read with your child so that they can maintain that language. You know, someone said in the especially in the medical field, which is very important, especially when you work in a place like New York, California, Boston, all these melting pots of cities around the US that have a gazillion people of, like, I don't even know how many different languages around the world, and you become very valuable. So think about that for your child, because they're going to get paid. You become very valuable once you speak another language. The fact that you can translate, it's like, hey, you Dr. So and so, you Dr. John, you Dr. Whatever your last name is, and the other doctor is applying for the same job you're applying. But because of the fact that you speak one, two, or three, four, five different languages, guess who's going to get the job? Because now your child has become more valuable because the fact that you made sure that your child learned more than one language. Now your child has become more valuable. So therefore, this is all part of the plan. Oh, someone says, Jonathan says he want to practice that by practicing with Babbel before. So that's actually a good way. You do have different places that can teach your child as well. I have friends who, their child is Haitian and African. It's a mix, and their child is also learning Mandarin. So again, give them a leg up. Give them, something, because plus it actually expands their horizon. It expands their mind, and it helps them to understand other cultures. Because it's hard to really speak the language and learn the language without learning about the culture. So that is definitely another way to really teach your children, not only about your culture, but if they're learning another set of language that is not of your own, or the language of the country that you're currently living in, that's another way of giving them a leg up. Help them to learn about the different cultures of other people, because it helped kids to be more empathetic. It helped kids to be more inclusive. It helped kids to be more loving and caring towards others. Because one of the things that I always say is that different does not equals to hate. But unfortunately, so many people equate the two. Like they feel like the two are synonymous. It's like, no. Just because somebody's different doesn't mean you have to hate them. So I think teaching them that different is good. Like this person have a different language. That's great. That's a great thing to have. Can I learn your language? Can you teach me your language? Make that something that is that they could learn, and that and they could pass on to their own children, and their children to their children, and so forth and so on. Because I'm not really a big fan of the word what was the word that people are like using everywhere now? I can't think of the word, but basically it's like they're like, oh, tolerance. I'm not a big fan of the word tolerance, because you could tolerate somebody, but you really hate them. I tolerate you because I have to. Hi, Brandon. I tolerate you because I have to, but you understand what I'm saying? I don't like that. To me, I prefer the word, being inclusive, being loving and giving and understanding of your peers, understanding of, your elders, understanding of people who are younger than you, regardless, whatever the case may be, but learning to make it a conscious decision to continually nurture that native language and really build on it is absolutely, like, it's a plus. I mean, what's the negative in maintaining one's language? There is no negative. I can't imagine. I mean, if you can think of a negative in maintaining someone's language, please write it in the in the chat, because I cannot think of one. I cannot think of a reason not to maintain language. But in retaining and maintaining your own language, your native language, is all kinds of positive. But when you don't, it's a lot of negatives, because now you're losing out on your culture. You're losing out on opportunities that could have come just because of the fact that you speak the language. So I would definitely encourage you to, if you are a teacher, encourage your parents, especially if you're a bilingual teacher, encourage the parents of your children to help them to maintain the language. I tell my parents all the time, listen, they have places like Epic Books and oh gosh, what's the other one's name that has books like online books that are in different languages. Go to your local library. I'm sure you can find tons of books in different languages that you can really help your children with. And if you yourself is struggling, because I know sometimes that's the problem, if you yourself is struggling with the language, then find a way for you and your children to learn the language together. You know, they have tons of Rosetta. Was it Rosetta something or another? I can't think of the name, but yes, they actually, that's a way of learning together, reading together. Then they have those readings where you play, like you actually play it to listen, and then each word is going, and the color will change, so therefore you know exactly how it's supposed to sound, and so forth and so on, and now you could pick it up. So the most important thing is love. You have to love your culture, you have to love your language, you have to love it enough to really want to go out of the way to really teach your children that, to teach yourself that, because I want to, you want to make sure that you keep that for yourself as well. So focus on that. Remember that, because at the end of the day, your own children, you know what I'm saying? Your own children are the ones who are at a disadvantage because you didn't take the opportunity to teach them. You didn't take the opportunity to really help them. And if you are first generation American and you barely speak the language, find a way to keep it up. You have tons of friends who I'm sure speaks that language. If you don't, get a pen pal somewhere. Find someone who knows someone who knows someone and get a pen pal somewhere. Like, listen, I need to learn Russian. Do you know someone in Russia that could be my pen pal? And so we could start. I could teach that person English. That person could teach me Russian. Because right now we have technology. Technology, it depends on how you use it, could be a huge advantage. I feel like, those kids out there, they're using technology for all kinds of craziness. Why don't we use it to benefit us in some ways that, that benefits us in the long run, not just the now, but also in the future. If you can find pen pals, find pen pals. If you can't, find someone who knows someone who knows someone and get a pen pal so that you can learn the language. I know tons of people. I know actually a friend of mine who's not Haitian, but he speaks more Creole than some people who are born in Haiti, because the fact that he made it a point to learn the language, because he was surrounded by Haitians. He's like, I'm surrounded by Haitian, I might as well learn the language. So he made it a point. He loved the Haitian culture, loved Haitian food, so he made a point to learn the language, and he's not Haitian. So for all of us who are, I don't care if you're from Italy, if you're from France, if you're from Belgium, if you're from, I don't know, whatever other country around the world, any, in the African nations and whatever the case may be, yes, the kids are going to learn English, but I want you to also focus on the benefits and the intellectual benefits, of the children learning, in retaining their native language, educational, economics. Those are ways of doing that. Now, I also want to give you guys a quick, because I'm looking at my notes, very quick things that you guys can do as well if you want to, ways that you can maintain it. Watching TV, reading the paper, magazines that are in those languages, listening to the radio stations that are talking about in those countries. Websites of businesses or children website of these countries that are in those languages. They actually have even activities. I think next time I have to remember to have that, even activities that you can click on languages that could change a whole entire site to whatever. I think they don't have all languages, of course, but if they do have your language, then you're one of the fortunate ones. Then you have the opportunity to learn in those languages, and also watch the different television stations or shows, because now again we have YouTube. Okay, YouTube has everything in it. YouTube is like the TV of the world. Everyone is watching something on YouTube, and you can find clips. You can find a whole TV whatever of just that language. So I really think that it's a really great opportunities that people can take. You can't tell me you can't find it, because I don't care how rare your language is. You will find a TV station, radio station, YouTube channel, something that is in your native language that you can utilize, that would help you to maintain. They have little cartoon kids could watch on that in that language. They have movies they can watch in that language. They have magazines you could read in that language. I mean, come on, it's out there. Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. You can definitely search any of these things and find it. So, oh, Jonathan said if you want to learn Spanish, watch Sesame Street. That's how I learned English, believe it or not. I was watching Sesame Street. I was watching those TV shows, so I was able to learn it. But at home, my parents were speaking in Creole with us, so we still learn English, but we were still able to maintain our home languages. We were still able to maintain our language and still learn English. So you don't worry about them learning English. They will learn English, but find ways to maintain. So what I'm going to do, I am going to. So I'm sorry for the people who are on Instagram, because you're not going to be able to see this, but I am going to add the links to where the articles that I am. I hope it goes through. The articles that I read. Okay, yes, it did. The articles that I read about the importance of maintaining one's native language, and the other one is the why is it important? Why is it important? I'm sorry. Why is it important, and the importance of how to keep up, like how to keep it. So I think I did this one. Okay. So I'm going to add both links to the Facebook live. I'm sorry, Instagram. You have to go into my Facebook to be able to get it, because I don't think I could add a whole link. At least I don't know if I could. I'll figure it out somehow. If I could add the link to Instagram, but I did add it to Facebook. So anybody can just click on that and learn why is it important and how to keep up. And if you have any questions, please write the questions on the comments and the chat, and then I'll definitely try to help you answer those questions. And again, keep teaching your children, keep learning yourself, because your native language is important. It's part of who you are. It's part of your culture. It's a way to really keep track of your own family and friends. So I would say definitely keep that up. Don't try to get your kids to just learn English, but really encourage them to nurture their native language as well, because that way they have tons of advantages to that, and I don't see any disadvantage to that. So you guys go ahead. I will have a great Sunday. I will see you guys next week. Also, I actually have well, you know what? I'll post it. I don't even need to put it here. I'll post it. But anyway, thank you guys for logging in. Thank you, Miss J. Thank you, Jonathan and Carlin. I know a couple people were also on Instagram, but I can't really tell who they are from this far. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll definitely will see you guys next week. All right? Thanks again. Have a great day.